Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City Puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behaviour of a Cavoodle puppy. So, if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @OodleWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello and welcome back to the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your Cavoodle puppy coach. And today we are doing another Cavoodle Basics episode and we are talking about whether or not Cavoodles bark a lot. And my answer to this, the short answer, and then we'll go into detail as always, is do Cavoodles bark a lot? Depends on the puppy and depends on how a family raises the puppy in the early weeks with them. So when we look at a Cavoodle puppy, Cavoodles do come from an heritage of poodles, and poodles are a breed that can be known to be a little bit more talkative than other breeds. And also in general, small dog breeds can be what people say is yappy. Absolutely. And so Cavoodles are no difference. They can be yappy. They can bark a lot. But I would like to say, from my experience breeding Cavoodles and training Cavoodles, is we can prevent that barking easily if we do the right kind of training early on with a Cavoodle. The reason is when a dog barks, and we'll talk about Cavoodles, when a Cavoodle barks, they can bark for a multitude of reasons. They can bark to alert you of something. They could bark because they are demanding something and they want something. They can bark because they are bored at something and they just want something to do. They can bark if they are nervous or scared of something. They can bark when they're excited by something. But a Cavoodle is only going to bark for these different things if this is what they have learned as their method of communication when they are young. And that is why I said the Cavoodles barking is dependent on the training you are doing with them when they are young. Because when your Cavoodle first comes into your house, your job as their new family is to teach your Cavoodle how to communicate with you and then how to communicate with others out in public. And if you don't teach your Cavoodle any other way to communicate, when they are young and they are still having their perceptions of the world shaped while they're in their critical socialization period, which is up until 12 weeks of age, if you haven't taught them any other way to communicate, well, a dog's natural instinct to communicate starts off as crying when they are young with their siblings, and then it moves into barking when they get older. And they get a little bit more passionate about what they want and when they want it and why they want it now. So a Cavoodle will bark a lot if you haven't trained them properly. And so when you first bring your puppy home, what we need to focus on doing is reshaping the behaviors. So rather than your Cavoodle, because like I said, they're going to start off with crying. They'll cry first and then it'll develop into barking later on. So the first thing we have to do when we bring them home is we have to teach our Cavoodle that crying doesn't get attention. Crying is not how you ask to be played with. It's not how you ask for food. It's not how you ask for physical affection. Instead, what we can teach them is, well, one of the things we can teach them as an example is something called manding, which is when we teach a Cavoodle, well, instead of crying for attention or instead of jumping on my legs for attention, if you want my attention, the way that you ask for this from a human is you come and sit quietly at my feet and then I'll know you want my attention. So that's one of the things we can do is we have to teach them that crying isn't going to get attention, jumping on your legs isn't going to get attention, and instead sitting at my feet will get my attention. And so then later on, as your Cavoodle grows, Rather than the crying and the jumping to develop into barking because they are getting more frustrated and impatient, instead your Cavoodle has learned this other method of communication, which is sitting at your feet for attention, and that is how we can prevent the barking from happening. The same thing is the case with Cavoodles who are barking because they are scared or they are nervous. When your Cavoodle puppy is young, Cavoodles in general, they lack a lot of self-confidence. They are not a confident breed, and they will try and attach themselves onto the nearest human, which is going to be their mum or dad, for any type of reassurance that everything is okay. And when a Cavoodle doesn't have self-confidence, whenever they are seeing something new, hearing something new, something shocks them or something surprises them, if they don't have self-confidence, they are going to be fearful or anxious or scared. And a Cavoodle's natural reaction to this, and this is the way that their body works, it's how a body works through the adrenaline rush that the Cavoodle is going to feel from this fear and this anxiety, is a Cavoodle will cry and a Cavoodle will then bark as they get older. And so if you want to stop them from barking when they are feeling scared or nervous or anxious or unsure of themselves when they are young, the training we are doing with them has to be to build their confidence and to teach them that there's nothing to be scared of in this world. There's nothing that is going to shock them or frighten them or make them feel anxious. And if we can make our Cavoodle feel confident within themselves and comfortable in every aspect of our life, that is another way where we can stop them from barking. So Cavoodles, and whether they bark, they absolutely can be very yappy like any small breed of dog can. But if we do the right kind of training when we first bring them home, and we teach them how to communicate with us and we teach them to be confident within themselves, that barking can be significantly reduced. The only time I like a dog to bark is if someone has walked onto my property, and that is alert barking. Then they are alerting us of something is wrong. And this is something we never want to punish or stop, because that is one of the benefits of having a dog. Their sense of smell and their hearing is a lot better than ours. But the rest of the barking out of boredom, the barking for attention, the demand barking, the barking because they are scared or anxious or overexcited, those behavior-led barking problems we absolutely can avoid and we can fix by a lot of early training that is specifically designed towards the Cavoodle breed. And my Cavoodle Training Academy, which is a 28-day training program for when you bring your Cavoodle puppy home, is going to do everything to turn your Cavoodle's communication from jumping and barking and crying to sitting quietly at your feet. And it's also going to instill your Cavoodle with all of the self-confidence they need so they don't suffer from fear or anxiety in any sort of setting, which is going to help stop any of that barking. So if you have a Cavoodle puppy, you're getting a Cavoodle puppy soon, the link is in the show notes to my Cavoodle Training Academy. It's designed specifically for Cavoodles, and it will reduce the likelihood of your Cavoodle being a yappy dog. I can't, unfortunately, have full control over it because something like genetics can play a significant part. If the Cavoodle's mum and dad are very, very yappy and reactive, that can come through to the puppy. And also if your breeder was unintentionally encouraging these attention-seeking behaviors like crying and jumping and barking, that's also going to influence your puppy. But I can definitely help you make progress, and we can definitely try and prevent it from getting any worse, and we can try and redetermine and reshape your Cavoodle's reactions to things so that they are quiet and not seeking attention or barking out of boredom or barking out of fear. So that's my Cavoodle Training Academy. I'd love to see you in there. It'll give you the best chance possible at having a Cavoodle who does not bark. If you have any questions about the Cavoodle Training Academy, you can send me an email at hello@oodleway.co, and I'm happy to let you know if it's the right program for you, but it is designed for puppies under 20 weeks of age. Okay, that's it for this podcast episode. I will see you next week for another episode of the Cavoodle Coach podcast. My name is Tiana Karamais, and I'm your Cavoodle Puppy Coach. I'll see you then. Bye.